Alrighty, so in this video, you are going to see me build a live sealed deck using some packs that FFG sent me with their media kit promotion. So that's really exciting. I did another live sealed deck build in my previous video, which also had an in-depth overview of the sealed format, as well as a deep dive into the Legends of the Forest sealed strategy. I went over how I think you should be building around the force mechanic. I went over the leaders, commons, and uncommons in the set. So if you're interested in a bit more of a deep dive pre-release guide / sealed guide, check out that video as well. I'll put a link to it in my description. This video is just going to be, well, the rest of it after this intro is just going to be me building a sealed deck with 6 packs. So let me know what you think about the deck, how it turns out. Before you go watch it, though, please hit that subscribe button. And if you're interested in some more content from me, do check out my Patreon as well. And I'll catch you later. Alrighty, so I'm going to have another sealed build for you. For those of you who haven't yet seen the pre-release guide, you're looking for some more insight into Legends of the Force sealed gameplay, do check out my previous video. It also has a sealed build where I use the pre-release kit that FFG sent me. Now, FFG also sent me a booster box to get some more content out for you. So what I'm going to do with that, another sealed build. So I got 6 packs here from that box that I am going to use for this sealed. I'm going to treat this one like it's not a pre-release. So we are not going to be able to use the Darth Maul or the Qui-Gon leader that you get in the pre-release kit. It makes it slightly more difficult to make a pool because you have 2 less leaders to choose from. But overall, it's still very, very similar. But let's get to it. I'll talk you through once again how I'm thinking about the pool as it goes, how I'm sorting my cards, what cards I rate highly in limited, and things like that. So we open a Third Sister as the first leader. She's not one I'm very happy about in sealed. The 4 health means that she's often going to only get 1 attack off in the game. It's not usually enough to just get that 1 swing. She can be built more aggro slanted, but a lot of sealed games do devolve into mid-range battles. And I worry that like if she just gets traded by your opponent's like 3 or 4 drop unit, you're going to fall behind and she's not going to be able to do enough for you. Youngling Padawan is a great turn 1 heroic cunning glue card. And by glue card, I mean it just kind of helps tie things together. It's going to just turn on the force for you. It's going to keep turning the force on if it's in play. It's going to work well with a lot of leaders. Here's a heroic generic card, the Long Beam Cruiser, 6/6 restore 1. It'll probably make all heroic decks. It won't be exciting, but it's just a pile of stats, and that's sometimes enough. Here's a card I'm be pretty happy running, the Charging Phylac, 3/4 Ambush Hidden. Ambush is the best keyword in the game in limited. 3 power on a 4-drop is not huge, but this guy's probably going to come down and kill most 2-drops that your opponent plays, survive, be around. It's going to create a 2-for-1 trade in your favor, and that's usually good enough. Here's the Sand Trooper Cavalry. Now, it is villainy only, which is nice. It can go into any villain deck. Unfortunately, 2/6 grit for 4 is not super exciting. Crushing Blow is an okay removal. Not very exciting. It can only kill 2-drops, which, it costs 3, so you're trading down, but it's still probably good enough to run in most blue decks. Acolyte of the Beyond is going to be the Youngling Padawan version for villains. So basically everything that we said about Youngling Padawan is going to be true of Acolyte of the Beyond. Relic Scavenger is a 4/6 restore 2 for 5. It's a filler card, but it's just a pile of stats, and like half our deck is going to be filler style pile of stat cards. And you see how I'm sorting by color in 3 rows. Heroic is going to be in 1 row, villainy in another, and then the neutral. And neutral is really important because those are the piles that get pretty big, and that kind of guides you into like what decks and colors you actually have enough cards to build around. The Magistrate's Scout is a 3-cost villainy unit. It's not very good, but it's not like terrible. Here's a pretty solid one. Sorcerer's Blast. 1 cost to deal 3 is above rate. Getting the force in this limited environment is probably not going to be too difficult, so it's nice. This is a solid removal card, and removal's pretty rare in limited. 3 Lessons is not a card I'm that excited about. Watto is a good unit. You probably run this in all your blue decks. He's not like crazy broken, but he's tough to remove. The Star Compass is okay. 2 costs for 1/1, but it also draws you a card most of the time, which is okay. And then our rare is kind of a bomb, Craving Power. I called this Overwhelming Barrage at home in my previous video. I'll do it here as well. It leaves you on a permanent buff for your unit, which is even more impactful in limited than it is in constructed, where there's much more removal, much more ways to remove big units. So this is going to come down, kill a really important unit your opponent has, and leave behind a buffed one. So really solid. Village Tender is a 1/3 hidden restore one. We don't love this other than the hyper foil, although in my previous build, I put it in my Snoke deck because in Snoke, you can actually play this as a 2/4 on turn 1, right? Because you can give it experience, and that actually is quite good. All right, the best card in that pack by far was Craving Power. Then we had a couple glue cards, the Acolyte Beyond and Youngling Padawan, which are nice to have. Sorcerer's Blast is solid removal, and the rest is mostly not super exciting, other than maybe the Phylac, who is a powerful unit. Like, that is a good rate ambush unit in limited. All right, next up, the leader's Ahsoka Tano. Another one I'm not super hyped about because at a 6 flip, it's pretty late. Only 6 health also isn't great, and the Sentinel ability in here is going to be difficult to get a ton of value. I like a lot of the force abilities that do things like Talzin's -1/-1, or Obi-Wan's experience, because those leave you with like permanent gains on board. Well, Talzin isn't permanent unless you defeat the unit, but her ability, I think, is a little less impactful, I should say. All right, Tip the Scale. This is not a limited card. Most decks play between 20 and 25 units. Very few non-unit cards in these decks. Now, if you see your opponent plays something like Craving Power, for instance, maybe you sideboard in your Tip the Scale to get like a huge power card out of your opponent's hand. But most of the time, we don't want this. Porg, we don't want him either. Nile Marauder is just a really good 3-drop if we end up in Cunning Villainy. Jedi Consular is another glue style kind of card. It's a turn 1 force unit that also has like really big upside. Graceful Purgle, it's a solid Space Sentinel, nothing more. Jedi Starfighter, primarily going to be good in a Kit Fisto deck, although I think a lot of the decks will simply run it just because it's a 2-drop and you usually need between 6 and 8 2-drops in your deck anyway. Outer Rim Mystic, don't sleep on this card. 6 health on your 3-drop, where it has the Force trait, will essentially guarantee that you're able to turn Force on for your deck, and that's going to be pretty important. Jedi Guardian is a 4/8 for 5. When defending, it gets +2. Now, this works pretty well with Ahsoka, actually, because you can give it Sentinel, and then it's very difficult to attack into. Other than that, it's mostly just a pile of stats, but a pretty solid pile of stats, if I'm being honest. Hyena Bomber, not a particularly exciting unit. The Blockade Runner, though, is quite good. It can get bigger as it attacks, so that's powerful, right? Especially in a limited environment where there's not a lot of removal. So it's a solid card. Flight of the Inquisitor, not great, honestly. You would need a few lightsabers in your deck, I think, before you would want to run this. At least 2. If this was consistently drawing you 2 cards, it might be a decent one, but overall it's a little difficult to get a ton of value out of it. All right, maybe the best or second best card we've opened thus far, if we're comparing it to Craving Power, is Depa. This is a 5/7 Ambush Saboteur for 6, and Ambush is insane. Now, Depa is maybe not the most push constructed card because there's a lot of competition here, but this card is going to be an absolute monster in limited, like crazy good. So we're happy about that one. And then we've got the Scion. 7 cost 6/8. While the Force is with you, each friendly unit gets +2/+0. I'd run this in any villainy deck that can get me the Force, which is probably going to be any villainy deck. So nice. And another bomb. So this is very comparable to Depa, actually. It's just another 5/7 ambush for 6. Maybe his when played effect with the Force isn't going to trigger too often, but it doesn't even matter. And they're very similar in power level, and we already have a Craving Power. So like 2 of our 3 best cards are in villain green right now. So I'm definitely keeping an eye on that. We have the Scion as well, which is going to work well in a villain shell. So let's see if we can get another leader that we might be happy to run in a build like that. All right, Kit Fisto, he's solid. We have this Jedi Starfighter. We have a couple good Cunning Force units, so I think his ability is going to be quite strong and limited. First of all, it lets you play off curve, which is nice and limited. It's more difficult to build a powerful curve. So you always have that resource sink in his ability, but it's also very good at impacting the board. 2 damage for 1 resource is a ton. So I think he'll be a pretty powerful leader. All right, Voltex is just a 2-drop, but 2-drop 3/2. We run that, and we're not going to complain about it. Will of the Force is a solid Force payoff, right? The bounce discard. In the shadows, you need a lot of units with hidden to make this work. Now, we do have the Third Sister, which essentially gives something hidden, but to get a lot of value out of this, it's going to be quite difficult. Jedi Sentinel, though, 4 cost for 5/4, even without the conditional Sentinel, is just probably good enough. When this has Sentinel, it's going to be even better, so we like that, and that goes into a pile of Cunning Heroism cards that is already good. Kadu is a filler command unit. Awakened Specters, 4/5 for 4, even with no text, solid limited card, and here, very similar, Wampa, basically a 4/5, with barely any text, Overwhelm, not hugely impactful here, but a solid unit. Here's a Lightsaber, Inquisitor's Lightsaber. I think this card is actually kind of playable because a lot of units are going to have Force on your opponent's side, so in that case, lets you attack as a +3/+3 into them, so yeah, I think solid. And Night Sister Warrior is going to be another one of those like glue-style turn 1 plays. It has the Force trait, so it's going to turn on your Force base, and it refills itself when it dies. Nameless Terror. Here's a little bit of a anti-Force card. Now, he's not amazing because of his stats, but he's probably still good enough, right? You come in, you can exhaust your opponent's unit. This works really well if you actually have initiative. So your opponent starts with a turn 1 Force unit, you do the Nameless Terror, you exhaust that unit, all of a sudden you can keep them off the Force for an extra turn. If this is able to attack, of course, it keeps them off the Force again because it removes the Force trait for all the enemy units. So this is not a particularly exciting card, doesn't have Force itself, it's only 3/3, but it does some stuff. Oh boy, so Keller and Beck is another bomb uncommon. We've seen a few of those, like Eighth Brother and Depa, and here's just another. This is the command version of it. I'd be very much right now looking to try to play a yellow-green hero deck, which we can't yet. We don't have a yellow or a green hero leader. If we had the Qui-Gon from the pre-release, we certainly would. And that's sometimes an issue, right? We're only going to get 3 more leaders, and if we don't get a yellow or green command, then we actually can't pair these 2 colors together. But this guy is a bomb, just pure bomb. Quinlan Voss is a very good unit. I don't think you're going to trigger his ability very often, but he's a 4 cost 4/5, and even if he has no text on him, like the Wampa or Wampa has text, or the Awakened Spectre, he has the Force trait and the Jedi trait, which will work with Kit Fisto, so he's going to really easily enable your Force base, so he's just a really solid unit. And then here's our rare Sith Holocron. I don't think we're really looking to build around a card like this that self-damages our own units just for a little more aggression. I think it's going to be tough to make that work. And we did get another rare in the foil slot, and it's Babu Frick, and he is a droid build around. It's unlikely that that is going to do much for us. So, best piles. Because of Keller and Beck, I'd say Command Heroes up there, Yellow Heroes definitely up there, and then Command Villainy. Then we have a decent amount of red stuff, but we also have to look at our curve. Right now we are kind of short on turn 1s and turn 2 playable units, so we really hope to open some more turn 1 plays. But like, if we're able to play Command with Heroic, we're going to all of a sudden have a bunch, right? We're going to have Jedi Consular, Youngling Padawan, the Voltex. So we're already at 3 in that color pair. So again, I hope we get a leader that we can run with that. And we open the Supreme Leader Snoke, so that's actually going to really help if we're running the Command pile, because he also turns our 1-drops into like much better 2-drops, right? So all of a sudden, Village Tender, who is not a card we would want to play in most decks, becomes actively good in a Supreme Leader Snoke deck, so we don't hate that. And we also have these really good bombs in Command, right? We have the 8th Brother and Craving Power. All right, the base. LOF Cat, not super exciting. The Monkey Lizard, also not super exciting. But another Jedi Sentinel, and oh boy, I really want to get this this Cunning Heroism deck going. A Blue Squadron Assault Wing, so similar to the Long Beam Cruiser here. Just a pile of stats on a heroic generic card, which works decently well. Here's Strike Ship. He's not great, but he's pretty good, and you know, this is something that can benefit a lot from getting experience from Snoke, keeping it around a lot longer, and it can start smacking for much more damage. Hyperspace, Wayfarer, I keep saying it, but pile of stats is sometimes good enough. Drain Essence is an okay card, right? Even if it's the Force token is not like the primary thing you need, 2 to deal 2 in limited is not terrible. Jedi in Hiding is a solid Force unit to be running. Following the Path is not good, unfortunately, because it doesn't draw you a card. Not a card we want. The Caretaker Matron, it is a turn 1 play, but it's very slow. It has no power. I would not be too excited running it. All right, Luthen Rail here. He's a 4. First of all, he's good because he's a 4/5 for 4, which is already kind of good enough. We said that about a few of these cards. Now, if you have a couple items in your deck, you get a little bit of extra upside from him, so nothing to complain about. Impossible Escape. I don't love this card. It's just not super impactful. And remember, you want all your cards to be on rate very impactful, because this is very much a card advantage kind of format where you're just like kind of bashing units a lot of time into each other. Our rare is Yaddle, which is one of the best 2-drops in the set. Good stats, has all the traits, has some extra upside with the Restore. So yeah, if we're in Hero Blue, we're playing Yaddle. And we got another Charging Phylax, so we have 2 of those. And the Cunning pile with Hero is definitely getting a lot of support here. We do have decent blue cards too, not Kellerin level of power level, but we could end up in a blue-yellow hero deck, which would be Ahsoka. Red, unfortunately, we've not gotten a lot of very powerful cards, although we have some good neutral ones with the Wampa, Quinlan, Jedi in Hiding, and the Sorcerer's Blast, so we could still even be looking at a Kit Fisto deck with yellow or something like that. All right, 2 more packs. Next up, all right, we got Kanan. Now, that's another heroic blue leader, so he doesn't open that much in terms of deck building opportunities, but we can start to look a little bit more closely and see if we have any creatures or specters, of which we do in yellow. We have the Charging Phylax are creatures, the LOF Cat is a creature. There's probably a few more in here. I think Wampa's a creature, so there's some world where he is helpful, and maybe he's just better than Ahsoka anyway, if we have enough creatures. But we might not, and if we don't, his deploy is not going to be powerful enough for us to run him. All right, Mysterious Hermit, a 2-drop, not going to complain, even though it's not the highest value one. It will give you the Force token basically every time because of its ambush. Gundark is a filler card. The Banking Clan Shuttle is a fine 3-drop in space for villain. Itinerant Warrior is crazy good, just such a good rate unit. Happy about that. Cure Wounds, not exciting. Night Saber, honestly not a terrible equipment if we have enough Force Jedi units actually to run it. Protect the Pod, solid removal. Lothwolf and a creature for the Kanan deck, or just a good 2-drop in most of the Hero blue decks. So Hero Blue is definitely getting some help now, and Still looking at like maybe a blue-yellow one. The villain pile, unfortunately, has not been too impressive outside of these 2 command units, so don't know if we're going to be able to run that. Here's Unleash Rage, not a great one. Double green, Acclimator Assault Chip. Yeah, we're not playing a mono green deck, and this is not worth paying 9 for. Savage Press is enormous. He has this big downside. This is tough to justify a lot of time because you can lose the game on the spot with him. BD1, I don't think this is great because the card itself isn't very, like, remember, it's a nice effect, but it's not just the cost of the resources to play it, it's a card out of your hand, and it itself is not particularly impactful. It's probably going to die for free. And we found a legendary, Martian Rowe, the double raider. We do have a raid unit here in the Nile Marauder, which is nice. I don't know if we got much else. Talzin's Assassin, one of the best payoffs for Force in Villain. This card is crazy good. Gonna look to see if we have anything else with raid that we could run with Martian other than the Nile Marauder. Oh, we had the strike ship, right? So we could do something like, right now it would have to be a Third Sister yellow-red deck. And that would be built aggro, and I don't think we can support that too well right now. All right, last pack. Hope it's a good one. All right, we opened Grand Inquisitor, who, frankly, I don't think is a very good leader in Constructed or in Sealed, but he's not terrible in Sealed because he's a 3/5 shielded when he flips. He can clear a bunch of units because of his ability to defend when he attacks, shrinking them. He's not terrible. He might actually just be a better fit for us than the Third Sister because he's better at board control. Army of the Dead, pile of stats card, Ascension Cable, not an equipment or an upgrade I'm particularly excited about. Last Words, I think it's too low impact, but it's not terrible. 2 cost for 2 experience is okay. The Starfighter is a really good turn 1 play, 3/2 in space. Tyrantotech is a very good unit in general. This guy's going to have ambush all the time in this set. Tauntaun, okay filler card. Cartel Interceptor's another raid unit if we wanted to build more towards that raid with the legendary. Grappling Guardian. 1 play you may defeat a space unit with 6 or less remaining HP. So if your opponent is playing big space units and this guy comes down and just like defeats one, that's huge upside. It is very expensive though. Exegol Patroller is a solid turn 1 unit in command, especially for playing with Snoke. All right, Plo Koon, that's pretty powerful, honestly. Just giant unit. When you have the Force, he also has Grit, but like even when you don't, a 6/8 for 6 in limited is quite powerful. Marin is okay, a good Force enabler to run with. Joe Costa, nothing to complain here. It's a 3/4 for 3. That's generally good enough. It has the Force trait, it has the Jedi trait. You can move upgrades around, which is not going to come up too often, but maybe a little bit. And our rare, unfortunately for us, is a double blue card. And while this card is a pretty good thing to do in a double blue Kanan deck, we can't really run a double blue deck in limited. And our last card is one of the most pushed 2-drops in the game right now, Aura Singh. We don't have a huge pile of cunning villainy, but she is raid also, so there is a world where we'd be building that. So, where are my eyes at? They're here. Cunning, Blue, and Vigilance Hero have a very robust pile of powerful cards. We would be forced to build either an Ahsoka or Kanan deck in that case, which I think is fine. I don't think they are bad leaders. I would have preferred to build around Kit or Snoke, but if we wanted to build a Snoke deck, we're locked into a pretty narrow pile of command cards, and we'd probably have to build it around yellow, I'd assume. We could also work on a red-yellow, more aggressive deck with Third Sister or Grand Inquisitor. but I do think our heroism pile is just much more robust. We have a lot more just curve units, so that's where we're going to start. So we're going to be building either around Ahsoka or Kanan, which means we can, and we're going to be doing it with blue, yellow. So let's get rid of the villainy cards first, and then we can get rid of the red and the command. All right. And as always, I like starting with my curve. Just, I want to see what turn 1s and turns 2 can look like primarily. So see in the top, we got the 1-drop, 2-drop. We don't have a 3-drop to put there yet, but we do now. Don't really want to one the caretaker matron, so we're going to keep that to the side. And then we can go to the blue and see if we can get a few more. We do have the LOF Wolf, which is great. We have the Yaddle. So like our turn 1 plays are actually really, really good in this deck. And we have like really good like top end here. A lot of just like stats and good rate units. Got a Mysterious Hermit. We got these, the charging Phylax, which are great. We'll probably play like a Will of the Force. And all right, so that's like the good stuff, basically, which is, you know, oh wait, I didn't look at the neutral blue yet. So we probably need some 3-drops. Luthen's good. Here's another 4. Watto's good. Crushing Blow will make the cut. It's not like a particularly impressive card, but it's good enough. We have a lot of 4s. Our 3s are a little light, unfortunately. But that's where maybe Kanan's ability can come in if we think about that. If we see we have enough creatures, which on the 2-drop slot we have 2, a Loth Wolf and a Vulptex. On the 3-drop slot we have the Tauntaun. On the 4s we have the 2 charging Phylax. On the 5 we have the Graceful Purgle. And you know, it's a little light. I don't know. Maybe we run the Loth Cat as a creature just to help in that. But if we don't think we have enough, then I'd probably opt to Ahsoka because she just has a much flatter power curve. But let's count this and see how short we are on playables. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 11 plus 7 is 18, 21, 23, 24, 25, 26. So that's pretty good. We got to 26. We only need 4 more cards. So there are some options here, right? We have like these neutral cards that are decent, even Last Words maybe. We could run Doom for 6. I don't love it, but it's not the worst. We probably want the Grappling Guardian, to be honest. We're just going to put it up here. So now we only need 3 more cards. We only have 1 droid, I believe, so we can't really run Babu Frick. Let's see, maybe the Loth Cat. And then the other thing I'm going to look at are some off-aspect splashes, which we'll see if there's something worth it. Like Tyrant for 7 is something we could look at. Protect the Pod for 6 as another removal is not the worst. Remember, removal is pretty rare. Keller and Beck for 9, not great, not impossible. Sorcerer's Blast for 3, theoretically. We don't have a lot of removal. Craving Power for 7 is an option. Talzin's Assassin for 6 is an option. And yeah, so that's about what I'd be considering in terms of off aspect. So we need 3 more cards between these. Most likely, to be honest, these cards are going to be resources. It's just what happens a lot of the time. But if I was adding 3 more of these, I'd probably start with this Gundark. He's not great, but he's not the worst. I'd probably put in the Protect the Pod. We're a little light on removal. You treat this as a 6-drop. And then we need, what, 1 more card? Maybe just the Loth Cat as another 2-drop. that can kind of steal some tempo from your opponent. So that's probably how I'd run, and I'd consider some of these other ones later. And let's just double check that that's 30, right? So that's 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 19 plus 4, 23, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. So that's the deck. I'd probably run this as an Ahsoka deck. I just don't think we have enough creatures. The real problem here is if you don't have a creature in play when you flip Kanan, he is just really anemic. And while we do have a decent amount of creatures to use his front ability, I don't think we have quite enough to guarantee that he flips into a 5/8. So I'd rather the more definitive flip for Ahsoka. But I'd probably try both a little bit and see how it plays out, because I think it's very similar. But most likely, I think I'd settle on Ahsoka. But yeah, that is the build. I hope you enjoyed this. Again, remember to check out the other video if you're looking for another sealed build, if you're looking for more insight into the format as a whole, because I talk about like the best commons and uncommons in the set as well. So this is the build. It's either an Ahsoka yellow or a Kanan yellow. And yeah, let me know what you think. Until next time, take care.